Okay, good morning or afternoon. And today is day 2 of this 3-day nutrition masterclass. My name is Leonila Campos. I am a registered dietitian. And on today's class, we're going to learn about exercise and how we can implement an exercise plan to get you moving and to continue to support you in your transformational journey. So if you missed yesterday's class, don't worry, I have the replay. You can send me an email at fueledbyleo@gmail.com, and then I can send you the replay, or you can go onto my YouTube channel and just look up for Simple Nutrition, and you should be able to find it there as well. But you don't want to miss that class because it was all about nutrition and about the specific method that I use for my patients when we are learning about nutrition and how to make their meals balanced, which is pretty simple and it can help you with your goals. And so I'm just going to go through these really quick. That's the 3-2-1 method. And it involves having your 3 ounces of protein, and then your 2 servings or cups of vegetables, non-starchy vegetables, and your 1 serving of whole grains, starchy veggies or cereals or pastas to make that balanced meal. I gave a challenge to conquer or to change 1 meal at a time. And then I provided some examples too, but let's go right into today's topic, which is the benefits of exercise, right? We hear all about exercise and we should exercise more. But a lot of the times we have, if we're not somebody that enjoys exercise or that likes to exercise, what happens is that we almost see it as a chore, right? And it's something that we don't want to do when we feel resistance. And when that happens, subconsciously our brain is like, you don't want to do that, right? What's the point? And then there's all these other things that happen in our brain and our body that we almost resist it to the point where we make it not happen. But when we change that mindset into a really strong reason of why is it that we want to move our bodies, and it doesn't have to be going to the gym for 2 hours, right? It could be just walking. Let's add some kind of movement to help our bodies have that more frequent blood flow and get that oxygen throughout our bodies. And we can get a lot of benefit that way. But other benefits of exercise, right, is that it has been shown to boost our mood. Exercise improves the way that we feel. It reduces the symptoms of depression, of how stressed we feel, because we are releasing endorphins, right? Which are the feel-good hormones, feel-good chemicals. And so we do see that change, once somebody starts exercising or moving their bodies, there is that improvement in mood. Another one is it relieves stress, right? Moving our bodies, getting our brains, our minds from that stressful situation, it can help us relax. And it also really depends on the type of exercise too, right? So if we're doing, depending on what you feel like that you want to do, could be dancing, it could be, weightlifting, and it could be walking, it could be yoga, it could be meditation. Anything that you feel that your body needs at that moment to help you relieve some stress can have a huge impact. Another positive or benefit of exercise is that it enhances our cognition, right? The way that our brain thinks, the way that our brain functions. It boosts our memory. Because when we exercise, right, again, one, it releases these endorphins, but you also kind of trigger that part of your brain that is the reward system. And so when you add something that it has to do with your legs or your hands, we send these signals to our brain, right? And so it gets more, you get an increase in cognition as well, but the flow of blood that goes into it and the oxygen, that it also helps with your brain to stay sharp, but it keeps your brain young, right? And so it also, exercise is it's a benefit to our brain as well in that sense. And then when we exercise too, right, it increases our self-esteem. It helps us to look at ourselves in a different way, right? Not so much. So one of the things that I want you to understand is that you should not see exercise as a way of punishment or as a way of, oh, because I ate that piece of cake, now I have to work it off, right? If that is the case, then we're almost moving into more of an unhealthy relationship with food and exercise and how we look at ourselves, which is a different topic in a whole different area that, I'm not going to go into it because it's more complicated. But if that is the case, right, getting the help of professionals that can help you with that is huge. One, from a registered dietitian, right? But also you need help from a therapist, a psychologist that can help you explore that area of why that's happening. But in general, when we move our bodies, right, when we exercise, again, because of that boost in mood and those endorphins going and the adrenaline and the testosterone, we see our bodies in a different way, right? It helps with self-confidence and body image. So exercise can also help with that. But when you think about the long-term effects of exercise, they go beyond how we see ourselves, right? Beyond the body image. It's a way of keeping our bodies young, but also as we age, right? Our body mass decreases, meaning that we're losing mass as we age. And there's actually something called sarcopenia, right? When there is that muscle mass loss. And as we age, that is actually a mortality issue because we need that muscle mass for overall well-being, but also for longevity. And so one of the ways to help our bodies prevent that is by exercising. The other one is that when we exercise, it helps with our bone density, right? It keeps our bones really strong. It's amazing, I have clients that are in their 80s. I actually have a client just recently that came to see me, and she's like 87. And she said, I go bike riding and I go to the gym and I weight lift. There's all these young people that are lifting around me and they see me as a grandma. But I don't see myself as the age that I am because I'm able to still perform. I'm able to exercise without any pain. And she told me this story about that she went to, I think she said Colorado, and she did a bike ride with a friend, and she fell, right? She fell off her bike, and I was like mortified. I was like, "Oh my gosh, did you break anything?" And she said, "No, I was just bruised up, and that was it." But imagine if maybe she didn't exercise. Imagine if she didn't do weightlifting, or walk. She said she walks 3 miles every day. Those bones will be weaker, right? And in that case, the likelihood of her breaking a bone is it's tremendous, it's high, because we're not exercising our bones, we're not exercising our muscles. And so as we age, that is huge, right? So think about the long-term effects, the long-term benefits of exercise, that it can really help us with mobility and independence. I worked in a skilled nursing facility. You can imagine, right? There's elderly and they're usually in bed. There's no exercise involved. And there's a lot of muscle mass, right? Because we need to move to be able to maintain the muscle mass. We need to exercise our bodies. And so if they fall, there is a huge likelihood that they are going to break something, right? Because the bones are not strong, the flexibility is not there, the balance is not there. And exercise can help with all that. So when we think about, okay, yeah, well, I don't care about how exercise makes me feel, or that it helps my brain, or that it helps me to relieve stress. That's fine, but think about how it's going to help you as you age, right? About being independent to be able to do your own things, right? Or do you want to depend on somebody doing those things for you, because you don't have that balance or that flexibility anymore to be able to do, to use the restroom or eat on your own or cook your own meals. So it's sometimes we have to switch things a little bit, right? To help us find the really strong reason to allow us to do something that maybe we don't want to do. And if that's not the case, perfect, right? If you're like ready to say, hey, I want to start exercising, I don't know where to start. There's so much information, just like nutrition, and I read something, then I read something different. Then I go to Google, and like nothing is always correct. Um, then this is the perfect place to start, right? If you're somebody that is new and you're barely going to start exercising, the first thing is create a plan for yourself, right? Allocate that time that you wanna spend in exercising. So let's say you only have 10 minutes, and you can say, does that even provide any benefit? And the answer is yes, right? Because you're doing something, even for 5-10 minutes, and your body is going to love that. So if you think of timing right, 10 minutes, that's perfect. Okay, what can I do in 10 minutes? You can go for a walk, right? If let's say you're a really busy person and there's no time in the morning, how about doing your break, right? Your 10-minute break or your lunch. How about spending 10 minutes just doing that, just going for a walk? It doesn't even have to go, you don't have to go to the park, maybe just around the building where you work, right? Or around the office where you work. Maybe going up and down the stairs for 10 minutes, right? You're using muscles that you usually don't use, and that is a huge benefit. But maybe you have more time, but maybe you have 30 minutes. You can say, I can do something in 30 minutes. In that case, right? Again, walking would be the very first thing that you want to do, because a lot of the times walking is so underrated, right? But it provides so many benefits. And so starting with a walk can really help. Actually, let me tell you a story about a client that she came to see me, right, for weight management, and we're working on nutrition. And then we started to talk about, adding some kind of movement. And she decided that walking was going to be something that was going to help her. And she said, I'm going to start with 5,000 steps, right? And we started small, and then we move on to 7,000 steps. And now she's at 10,000 steps, and she's losing weight, and she is able to do these things. So the way that she does that is by adding, she said 15-minute video and 20-minute videos of walking at home, right? These are YouTube videos that she uses to walk at home. That to be able to meet her 10,000 steps. And then at school, she eats her lunch, and then whatever time available she has left, she goes for a walk. Or during her 10-minute breaks, she goes for a walk. So it's that simple, right? It's just how we prioritize those things and how we see them, right? It's having that mindset and changing that mindset of, that's another thing that I have to do. Do I really need to do it? Versus, what can I do for my body to help me feel better, right? To give me more energy, just so that way I can reduce pain, right? If I'm having pain. Having a mind shift can really help, right? And then keeping it simple. We don't have to add these complicated plans. Keep it simple, just like nutrition, right? It doesn't have to be this complicated nutrition diet or plan. Let's keep it simple. So that's where you can start. Now, if you can say, well, I have some experience with exercise, I want to, start adding some weight training. Perfect, right? But I only have limited time, and I can only do it a couple times or a few times during the week. Not a problem, right? Let's focus on what you can do in that time that you have. So you're able to do it 3 times a week. Perfect. Let's do it 3 times a week for 30 minutes, and let's find an exercise plan that works for you. Now, if you've never done, and even if you have, right, even if you have done weight training in the past, it's always a great idea to get a certified personal trainer to show you the proper way of doing things. More so if you are new to weightlifting, right? Because your form is going to be everything. If your form is horrible, then your likelihood of getting injured is going to be really high. And then what's going to happen is that we're not going to be able to exercise anymore. And then we're almost kind of back to square one. And so if you have the ability, if you have the resources to hire a certified personal trainer to show you how to do the movements properly, in basic things, right? Like a squat, right? How do I do a squat? You might think, oh, it's so simple, but there's so much that goes into it, right? Are you squatting with your feet, pointing to the sides? Are you squatting and just like leaning forward? Are your knees past your toes, right? There's these technical things that you have to understand so that way you don't get injured. So even, hiring a certified personal trainer for a short period of time to show you basic movements that, you can do later on by yourself, it's a great investment. But if you're more advanced and you're like, I can follow a plan, I know how to perfect my form, then again, focus on maximizing that time that you have, and being very intentional about it, right? Because if you only have 30 minutes and you're trying to do your exercise, but you're also scrolling on social media, or you're so distracted, then you're not maximizing your time, right? You're wasting your time because you're not being focused. So think about those things too. So how can we start our plan, right? How can we get a plan going that is going to work for us? The first thing, again, that you want to do is get very clear with what you want to accomplish, right? Because if you don't know, one, why you want to accomplish, why you are doing the thing that you're doing, then when you have an obstacle or a challenge, that plan is going to go out the window, right? So it has to be something really powerful. And when you think that you have the reason why you are starting something, ask yourself 3 more times, why? Why am I doing this? Right? A lot of the times, the first why is more superficial until you ask yourself why 3, 5 more times. That's when you truly understand the reason why you are doing things, right? I have a patient that tells me I exercise every single day because when I get older, I don't want to depend on my children, right? That's very powerful. That's what motivates that person to get up every morning and go and exercise. So you have to find that why for you. Once you do that, right, now think about, okay, how much realistically, right, looking at this week, looking at the upcoming weeks, how much time do I have? How much time am I going to spend in exercise, right? If it's 5 minutes, that's perfect. Let me write it down. Let me put it on my calendar. Let me make sure that I don't forget to do it. Because there's things that are going to come to you, and we are busy people, that you're going to push that away and you're going to push it off. And then it's, the end of the week and you're like, well, I didn't do it and it's because we didn't have time, right? It's because we didn't prioritize it. It was not something that we really wanted to do. And so think about how much time, right? And the way that you do that is you kind of almost audit your day, right? Okay, what do I do on a daily basis? The things that I do every single day, every single time that need to get done. For example, dropping off the children at school, right? If you have kids, or getting to work at a certain time during the day. So audit your day, right? And you can see, okay, from this time to this time, I really don't have anything that I do, right? I mean, usually most part of the week. So I can accommodate or I can exercise at this time, right? And almost make it a non-negotiable, meaning that no matter what, it's on your calendar, and just like an appointment, right? Or just like a meeting that you have, it's on the calendar. Think of it as your way of doing self-care for yourself, right? It's on the calendar, it's a non-negotiable. Someone is asking me to do something, or I need to do something else. Okay, well, I either have to do it before or after that, or I have to do it tomorrow, right? And that's how you start prioritizing the things that are going to help you long term. Again, we are busy people, right? And if we wait to have time, there's never going to be a time for that, right? Because another thing is going to fill our schedule. Another thing is going to fill our calendar, and we're just not going to have time ever. And so we have to really be intentional, right? And we have to sit down and audit our day and be, okay, yep, from this time to this time are when I usually have a 5-10 minute break. Most times of the week, that's where I'm going to add my movement, right? Until you build a habit And once you build a habit, right, then it becomes second nature. Like really your body almost reminds you and tells you, hey, it's 10 in the morning, let's go for a walk. But not until then, you have to really be intentional and work at it, because habits are not created in one day, right? It can take 15 weeks, it can take longer depending on how consistent we are. And so if you can say, oh, I only have 2 minutes, okay, that's fine. Put it on the calendar, make it happen, be consistent, because the consistency is the huge part too, right? Is what's going to help tell your brain, hey, this is what we're doing today. This is what we do every single Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, right? Or Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or whatever. And then subconsciously, your brain is going to remind you, hey, now we got to do that, right? Now it's time to go and have our walk. And keep it very, very simple, right? The more complicated you add it, the more complicated you make it, the more challenges you are going to get, and the less likelihood that you are going to do it. Because one, our brain does not like challenges, right? Brain doesn't like complicated things. It gets so overwhelmed. So keep it very simple. So that's a challenge for you, right? Is to, number one, sit down, right? Or the most important thing is that you have to be focused with that. Like you cannot have, the kids screaming on the background and you're cooking dinner, and you're trying to figure this out, because there's so much going on that your brain is not going to help you. So preferably you want to do it when you're more calm, you're sitting down, and you're focused, and you're like, okay, yeah, this is what I need to do in this time, right? I promise you, if you feel like you don't have time, you do have time. You just have to figure out again what you do, right, on a daily basis from when you wake up to when you go to sleep, and you will have time. So there's that. Audit your day to find time, and then add it to your calendar or schedule or agenda to make it a non-negotiable, right? And do that consistently every single week, week after week. And then time after time, right? Then you can change things. Oh, well, now because I'm so efficient and focused, I have now 10 or 15 minutes that I can spend in, moving my body. Now I have 20 minutes, right? Or I have 30 minutes. Now I can add different kinds of movements, right? Maybe some strength training, or maybe some jump roping, or some dancing, or something like that. The next thing is, just have some notes, but it's that if you're needing more help, right, in trying to figure out a plan for yourself, and you don't want to do weightlifting yet, right? Maybe you're not so sure about that. But you still want to create a plan for you, and you're like, I need some more guidance. Reach out to me, right? I created these online program that is 12 weeks. And in those 12 weeks, there is an opportunity to help you create your own exercise or movement plan. And then you can also get access to our exercise platform, which I am going to show you right now. And using that platform can help you to track your movement. It can help you to see how you're progressing, because once you start adding exercise and more specifically strength training, right, you want to know how that is progressing, right? Number one, am I seeing an increase in the amount of weight that I'm using, right? Or am I getting more, my endurance is increasing, right? Because I'm able to finish the whole routine in, I don't know, in a specific time, or I'm not out of breath anymore, right? Because you got to remember that when you haven't done something, more specifically with movement, that is going to take time for your body to adjust, right? And then once you are able to do that, then your body gets more efficient at doing something. But let me show you that platform that we use for our program. And this is a 12-week program And I'll be talking more about that tomorrow. So you don't want to miss that. Where am I? Right here. So this, yeah. Okay, so this is our platform. This is a test patient or person client. And so there's an exercise program that has been designed and created by a certified personal trainer. And we usually do phases, right? About 3 phases, 1 to 4 weeks, and then 5 to 8 weeks, and 9 to 12 weeks. So for example, this phase here, each of the programs is going to have a warm-up, a cool down, and then depending on your level of expertise or experience, and we can do a more advanced one, but it will have like resistance or flexibility. And each of the programs will tell you specifically how to do something, so that way you can know how the form is. But you can also track your progress, right? So if you're doing 5 pounds, right? The next time that you do it again, you can attempt 7 pounds or something like that, or a different resistance bands. You can keep track of your progress that way. But yeah, this is the platform that we use for a specific program. And again, the workout programs are created by a certified personal trainer. And then we have access to your progress, so we can discuss about that too. So that's one of them. Now, the other thing that you can do, if you're not so sure about that program specifically, you're looking for more free resources, right? I mentioned the patient that uses YouTube videos to walk, and you can look it up, right? You can look up walking YouTube videos, and there's different ones that you can do, like 10-minute ones or 15 minutes, 30 minutes. And you can start that way, and those are usually free. But there is another app that I've used in the past, and I often share it with my clients too, and it's called JFit. So I'm going to share the screen with you so you can see it. And this application again has free workouts, right? Of course, there are some that are called like VIP that you have to pay for them, but they have programs, right, that you don't have to pay. These ones, if you want to work out at a specific area of your body, right? Like for example, upper legs, it will give you different exercises that you can use to kind of build your own workout routine with like targeting that specific muscle. And then there are, let's see, you can pre-design your own workout or create your own plan, or there are already pre-designed ones. So if you're like, oh, I want to do muscle building 4 days, right? Or something like that. There's some that I do that are beginner. So then they'll give you specific workout plans that are for beginners, right? Maybe you just want to do full body home workout, right? And then there's that one. So that's another way that you can start adding exercises to your workouts, and then you can look at the form. But again, if you have the ability and the resources to work with a certified personal trainer, that's a great way to start, right? And you can get the basics, and you can learn the proper way to do the exercises to prevent injuries. But if you don't want to do anything like that, right, then start with walking, right? And walking again can make a huge difference. The goal is that you want to get to at least 10,000 steps, right? If right now you're like, I only do 2,000 steps, then that's okay, right? Because you're starting there. That's your starting base or baseline. And you can improve from there, right? You can add 1,000 steps or 500 steps every single time, and then that will help you. So start small, and that's totally fine. Just as a recap, right? We talked about the benefits of exercise, how it helps with our cognition, our brain function, It helps with stress. Um, it helps with our bones, our muscle mass. As we age, right, it helps to prevent muscle loss. It helps with flexibility and balance. It helps with our self-esteem, right? Because when you think about how from when you start to, the point where you're at now, that can boost your self-esteem too. Like, oh, I used to only be able to, run or jog for like 5 minutes. Now I can do it for 15 minutes. Um, our bodies are so amazing, and so we just have to allow them to show us how amazing they are. We talked about creating that plan, right? That is going to be a workout or an exercise plan or movement plan, right? If you don't like the word exercise, change it to movement. But finding that true why, or why is it that you're doing that specific thing, not and changing your mindset, right? From it's another chore and another thing that I have to do, to helping my body to do something, right? I'm helping my body to age better or have, increase my longevity. Um, and then after you find your why, right, auditing your day, right? So that way you know where you're gonna be able to add those 10 minutes, those 20, 30 minutes. A lot of the times what I hear, my patients like, oh, do I have to go to the gym, right? Or do I have to, like, I don't have an hour to spend working out. And it's so interesting, like, who says that we need to spend an hour exercising? If you want to do that, that's great, right? But if you only have 20 minutes, use those 20 minutes, right? Maximize those 20 minutes. And so that's when the auditing of your day comes in, right? Like, look at when you have time. Now, if you audit your day and you can tell me, I don't have time at all, then what I'm gonna ask you is, okay, tell me how much time you spend scrolling social media or using your phone. And you can actually find that information under the usage of your phone. If you have an iPhone, it usually sends you like a usage percentage at the end of the week, and then what apps you use the most. So that's where you can start too, right? If you tell me I literally don't have any time, okay, look at that, right? And decrease that time. I'm not telling you don't use social media, but use some of that time to add some movement. Or, right, if you're like, well, I want to do that, I still want to do that. Okay, then how about if you go for a walk or just a walk around your house using social media, right? That's another way to also add some movement. But when it comes to prioritizing your health and your well-being, we can make time, right? You don't want to make time when you're sick, right? When you could have prevented something because we didn't make the time for it. So audit your day, figure out when you're gonna exercise, when you want to exercise, make it a non-negotiable by adding it to your calendar or adding it to your agenda, and everything else that comes after that, right? Just schedule it around it or schedule it for the next day. But the consistency, again, is a huge part of creating behaviors, of creating habits. So once you do that, right, stay consistent. And then once you become so consistent with it, and once it becomes second nature, you don't want to do something over and over and over, because then you get the same results, right? You want to change things around, usually about every 6 weeks or so. So if it's a training program that you're following, right, if you always do that, you do that for months and months, then you're going to see the same results. So you can change that once you feel comfortable. There's a few resources, or a few resources, because I gave you a few, for how to get started with like types of exercises. I gave you that free application, JFit, or you can look up YouTube videos on how to do that, or how to start adding walks like at your home. And then I'm gonna talk more about our coaching program, a 12-week coaching program that will give you access to our exercise platform with exercise programs created by a certified personal trainer. And I think that is it for today. So let me know what you think. Let me know your plan for your exercise. And if I can support you in any other way, if you want to get together with me, have a call, or figure out a plan for you, an exercise plan for you, let me know as well. Again, you can email me at fueledbyleo@gmail.com. And I can help you with that. All right, my friend. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. And I can't wait to see you tomorrow. And tomorrow we'll talk more about the program, but we're also going to do a recap. And we're going to talk about sleep and stress and create a like an initial meal plan for you to help you with your goals. Okay, thank you so much. You take care, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.